Okay, it seemed to, hello, seem to be losing reception as I get higher, so if that happens, I'll have to go back low. I live in the hills, so those are mountains you can't see for the smoke. So if I was going to describe the master shot here, I would describe sound, distant sound and close sound. I can hear the trains across the river. But when we describe a sound, often people will label the sound instead of describing it. So the sound of a distant train has no verb. The verb is what you're looking for. So I'm going to just, do it as if I was doing it for myself. That sound of the train it's a low, like a wooden flute note. It's a hollow sound that carries through the air from a very long way away. It expands as it goes, I would say. It's a round sound that is always traveling, and it calls that emotion up in us. I think there's a big strain of American music and the American psyche that responds to the sound of a distant train. A close-up train is another thing entirely, but that distant sound there's a yearning to it, there's a call to adventure, there's a mournfulness about being left behind. Oh, and there's the train going by. Okay, let's see if I can get this. I guess I have to be really careful not to disconnect you again. See the train going by? It's a very long train, and it moves slowly and kind of weary. It looks weary to me. So you're always looking for the psychological connotations. How does a train move? It trundles, it rolls, it rumbles, it inches. This one is kind of at a lope, I'd say. It's moving pretty nicely. Traffic moving freely on both freeways below us, the 2 and the 5. At this hour, there are more passenger cars than there are trucks. Later in the day, you'll see more trucks. Early in the morning, more trucks. But it's mostly the sound. When I was first in Colorado, I was camping up above Timberline, and I woke up and we were hiking. It was a hiking day, and we'd camped, and I kept hearing the freeway, and was told, no, that's the river. So for us, the sonic dimension of these freeways, they're constant, and yet they're constantly changing as well. And that's the dimension that is the master shot. And I don't see any helicopters or hear them. But you also can judge season. You see I have I don't know if you can see the purple blooms on the jacaranda, but here and there in the landscape, there's another one over there. There are jacaranda. Oh, there's a red-tailed hawk. Well, how does that fly? Okay, that's a sky guy. There's a butterfly, kind of chartreuse butterfly. That's a master shot. So what is the movement of a hawk? What's the movement of a butterfly? If you can only get a butterfly fluttered, you're already in trouble, because all butterflies fluttered, and it's the fill in the blank, one size fits all verb that we're trying to avoid in writing is the butterflies fluttered or danced. You know, it's up to us to list verbs that fluttering, we can replace that fluttering with searched. Here's a little butterfly. Butterflies searched. Butterflies tickled. Oh, this is a good one. I'm going to turn this around. We have butterflies in the plumbago and in the geranium, and you can really see they're tickling those flowers. They're dusting them. They're airing them with their wings. What is the movement of that hawk? You know, yes, hawks soar. It was soaring. Its wings were broad and it was soaring. But to say hawks soared is not going to tickle your reader at all, because they've heard that language before. So the hawk rises, the hawk lifts on that air. The air, you know, it slices the air. It, you know, it. I do better with my hand in motion. So let's get a motion for the hawk. And we know that landscape works as it interacts with the things that move, like the hawk. Here comes a helicopter, you can hear it. The interaction is what makes the thing move. So the hawk sliced the smoky air. I'm going to be very happy with that line. The tiny butterflies tickled the plumbago and dusted the pink geranium. Happy with that. Now, sound is, as we talked about before, sound forms the best dimension. And here come our helicopters. Can you hear them? They're obviously dumping water. So helicopters, and what is the sound that they're making? Helicopters, they don't grumble, they chop, but they're also moving. So helicopters beat through the summer noon with they have buckets of water, large buckets of water, with their payloads. That's okay. I would go back and play with that, but back with their payloads of water, heading for the unseen fire. And how would you describe this kind of mucky, icky, murky air? You have to be careful not to just say, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that." It looks worse in real life than it does through the camera lens. But to describe this, I mean, you can't see those mountains. There are large mountains about here. And it's so smoky you can't see them. What do you call, once you've said smoke laden, what else can we say about the smoky air? Smoke laden. What are some good verbs? Clogged, clotted, smudged, anything that an artist can do, light can do, the air can do. If I was chalked a mucky brown, erased, smoke erased, smoke erases the distant hill, they're not even that distant, really. Smoke erased the distant hill, the distant mountain, just its upper ridge, penciled in. So you create language as you go. You create language as you're looking at it. That's why you need to get outside and away from your computer for a while and really engage with direct reality. The process is slow. It takes a long time, but it's probably one of the most pleasant things to do is sit here and listen to the sounds, list the sounds you're hearing, and give them verbs. That the helicopter just took another pass. It's going back to get some more water. So it's a fire day. This helicopter overhead, helicopter churns, that's a good one, churns overhead, on its way back for another giant gulp. Yeah, I like it. Ooh, I can smell that smoke too. So smells, what do I smell? Well, let's talk. Okay, so that's all in the master shot. That's all from the sky. The sky is the actor. That's the scale. This whole valley is my scale. So I'm going to show the valley once more, although I'm not up on the steps anymore. It just kind of goes and follows along. If you could see through the trees, which I can. And it just follows along the line of the sky. Then I don't think choke, you worry as much. Linda asked, what if choked isn't a good choice because it rhymes with smoke? I actually like rhymes. So there you go. I like rhymes. I like assonance. Helicopters hovered. I liked assonance, which are repeating the vowel sounds of words. That's the poetics. So I don't have a problem with that. So it's learning not just to hear birds, but to describe get that verb. What do I hear? Not birds just sing, but they do all kinds of things. They signal, they alert, they trill, they mock, they you have to watch too much for the twerping, and some of that gets pretty hokey. So taste, always taste. So anyway, the largest scale of landscape is that big room of the sky, and everything you can see kind of in the distance. Then there's what I call the personal level of landscape, which would be this clearing here, this little area where we're sitting, this patio. There's just like a little. Let's see. I'm going to switch this around and try not to turn you off. There we go. So there's just a little patio, maybe 10 feet across, and it's just got, it's got some stones on it. If I sit back here, you can see it a little better. So it's just where I sit. It's my chairs, and and a little bit of broken tile, and I sure didn't clean it up for you guys. So anyway, any space about the size of a room is personal space. And the figure, which is the human being, me, at the moment, I, at 5, whatever I am the scale of the personal space. So it's about the size of a room. If you're at the beach, it's your towel and a couple of towels around you and the little piece of ocean in front of you and maybe the trash can behind you. If you're in the forest, it's that little clearing that you're in, maybe half a dozen trees around you. So we call that, so that's personal space. And most dialogue takes place in personal space, right? People, it's hard for me. If I want to talk to somebody out in Eagle Rock, I have to call them on the phone. I don't have dialogue with people except in personal space. So the sounds that are in personal space now. I don't hear much in personal space. Most of the sounds are distant sounds, freeway, and then I have these garden bells that are right behind me up here, that are sort of the voice of the garden. So it's a bit larger personal space, but that sound is the soul of the garden. You'll always hear it when I'm up here. So I'll call that personal sound. So this is what happens when people stop talking in your dialogue. They hear you write what, Nancy and Bob, were having this heated argument or whatever. They stop talking. Cars and the traffic on the freeway was flowing freely today. The whisper and whoosh. I don't like those onomatopoeic verbs, but on short notice, the rush and rustle of the traffic showed that it was moving well, even on the 5. The big, deep, resonant chimes filled. I don't like filled, we overuse it. What's a better one? Poured its deep honey sound over the garden. It would be wonderful to use in the middle of a conflict between people who love each other, and it would help them remember that they do love each other. You use that ambient sound. What else do I hear? So I hear a number of birds. The mockingbird's improvisational song, sweetening the air. This kind of sketching is really fun because it's almost a meditative thing. I hear the creaking of the bamboo in the wind, the dry rustle of the pomegranates. And then what do I see? I see shadows shifting. And sometimes I'll just come out and be mesmerized by the shadows, because the tree above me is very feathery. The boughs are very feathery. So I might write about have a character sit and watch the just kind of chill out and watch the feathery boughs of the jacaranda cast moody shapes on the bloom-strewn patio. And everything is covered with these little blooms. It's jacaranda time, so we have a season, which is late spring, early summer, which we call jacaranda time, but we're past those misty meetings. So personal space are the chairs, and the personal space is this the flooring, the plants. I'm seeing here's an ionium bloom. Or they're not blooms, they're leaves, but they're succulents. So I love these particular plants. I'm trying to get So we're trying to describe this. Okay, this is personal space. Are these so that's like a virtuosic mockingbird who is just, he's our Miles Davis. He is just completely within the red melody, which he will not repeat. That will be it. It's an improvisational one-time performance. So, then we get to the intimate level. In landscape, the actor on the intimate level is the hand. Am I still breaking up? Linda, am I still having transmission problem? Okay, well, let's see. So, this is the personal level of landscape, or scale, is that the hand is the actor. So this is the personal level of landscape. Here's your star. Here's your star. That's the personal level of landscape. Whatever my hand does, can touch, is the intimate level. So you can't pick up a cup of coffee except on the intimate level. You can't drink. You can't drink anything, touch anything. It's not on the personal level because it has to be right up against your skin to be felt. So the personal level, the intimate level of landscape is what's in front of me. So it's about the size of a tabletop, and a small tabletop. So it's what you see right in front of you that you're touching. So this is my intimate landscape right here. So how do you use these three levels of landscape when you're interacting with your... How do you have three levels of landscape when you're writing? You have your character is, say, sitting at a table like this talking to someone. So you're basically in personal space. You're talking to them, you're looking at the Ioniums, you're listening to the bells, then you lift out of personal space, and your character can at any time look across the valley, see a helicopter, hear it, look at a traffic jam forming down on the 5, look at Mount Wilson on the top of that pencil-sketched mountain that we talked about. And then suddenly the character can take a sip of coffee, notice that it's not very warm anymore, turn a page of their book while they're talking to someone. So when you can move through the levels of landscape like that, to distant, to intimate, to back to the personal, back to the intimate, all kind of seamlessly moving through the levels, your reader believes that the place is real because it's all accessible. Every scale is accessible to the reader. So I highly recommend doing doing an exercise like this regularly. Just go outside, or you can do it inside, but you need to pay attention to the master shot out the window to keep that third dimension, and listening for sound outside, like open the window if you need to be able to hear the sounds, so that you can move freely between the levels of landscape and really make your spaces three-dimensional. Make your character in the living world, and a wonderful thing to do now that the weather is good enough that you can be outside and really experience this. So I want to thank you for coming for Writing Wednesday, and have a good summer. If there are any questions, this would be a great time. And thank you for joining me. And I am going to be a little spottier on Writing Wednesdays. So if there's something you want me to talk about, go ahead and let me know. But I'm now into the crunch season with my edits, so I might not be able to hit every Wednesday for a while unless there's a burning need. So let me know. And thank you for joining me. Okay, bye.